recording, you might get a little dee-dee-da. And if you would like to turn your camera off because you don't want anybody else to watch you, that's absolutely fine. If you want to stay on, that's also fine. But can I ask you to turn your microphones off? And if you want to ask a question, just use the raise hand facility at the bottom of the screen. That would be really great. And then I'll come to you. But I will pause every now and again. I won't just go 100 miles an hour to let you ask any questions. So firstly, before we get going, I just wanted to say welcome. This is such an exciting time of year for us when we kick everything off in a new term. But for me in particular, this is the bit that I really, really love. I love seeing people's business ideas come together and form some kind of meaningful development. And it's all very well doing courses, but actually at some point you've actually got to do something with it and put it into practice. And a lot of people get really worried about the business side because there are new skills, it is all brand new, but just think about how you felt when you started your reflexology or your massage or whatever it was. You didn't know anything then either, and look at you all now. So, well, not all of you, because some of you haven't started yet, but you kind of get my meaning. Those of you that are actually practicing reflexologists, you know, you're doing it, and business is actually the same thing. So my plan for the next 12 sessions is to take you through some bite-sized bits. And today I want to start with a bit of an overview. If we think about a jigsaw puzzle, which is my favorite analogy, what we're doing at the moment is just looking at what the framework looks like, how many pieces you've got in your jigsaw puzzle, and what the picture looks like. Okay, so everybody's going to have a completely different picture on their jigsaw puzzle box, and we're going to be putting it together, and you're all going to be putting it together in a different way. So some of you are very, very brand new at the beginning of your journey, which is absolutely fine. You can do this program as many times as you want to get your ideas and your information and identify what is it that you don't know, so that you can find out what it is that you do know. And for some of you, it will be very specific technical things like, I've got no idea of how to work my computer to make it do what I want it to do. Others, it will be the math side of things. You'll be going, I can't add up this thing and work out my cost of sale. It's yes, you can, but you just might need a little bit of help along the way. Do you need to do a business course to have a business? No, you don't. You can trade your time for money. You can find clients here, there, and everywhere, but it's not going to be purposeful. And the point of a business is to identify what a problem is that people have, that you have the solution, that people want to pay a price that is affordable and achievable to them and meaningful for you to get where you want it to be. Okay? Or you can have an expensive hobby. Entirely up to you. Your choice. So what we're going to do today is to look at what I call the what, why, where, who, and when. Okay? And we're going to start with the clarity of purpose. We're going to align it with your personal goals. We're going to identify who your target audience is. We're going to have a look at the market relevance. We're going to do a bit of planning. We're going to identify some resources. We're going to create some measurable outcomes, and we're going to identify who we need to work with to do this. So that's it's quite a biggie, isn't it? Asking you to do all of those things. So a lot of this information that you need to refer back to is on the TLR, and it's not, unfortunately, one section covers everything, because as you'll see as we go through, it's sort of dovetailed in. A bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of the other all kind of dovetails in, because what you find is you identify one thing and then you realize that actually, do you know what, it's a little bit like anatomy and physiology. So you learn something about one system and you go, oh, that's how that works. What do I need to know about that system? Oh, it's because of such and such that's working. Well, business is a little bit like that as well. So we can't just do it module by module by module and be able to cover everything that you need to know. So there's a little bit of ping-ponging backwards and forwards, but I have on the TLR put it into strategic sections. Now, I've got a mixture of people on here. Some people who are just here for the ride because they're not doing a reflexology qualification, but they want to build a business, and that's absolutely fine. You have access to a building business for therapists, which I've taken out all the assignments. I've also got people that are on my City and Guilds program that have got 3 assignments to do as part, 4 assignments to do, apologise, as part of their City and Guilds assessment. And I've got people that are currently on the SEG or starting the SEG that have got 7 assignments to do. Okay, so you might think that the City and Guilds people have got an easy ride, but actually I don't think they have particularly. All right, so, and everything that we've created for the SEG actually is designed to help you move forward with your business. So there will be tasks that I will get you to do that for my SEG people are part of their assessment, and for my City and Guilds people and my non-qualification people, they are purely to move your business forward a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to pause there for a second. Has anybody got any questions so far? Has everybody managed to access their support program on the TLR? I think there's a little thumbs down, so if you wanted to do a thumbs down to tell me that you haven't, that's absolutely fine, or you could just pop it in the chat. This will all be recorded, and I will also have all of the, I think, communication. So if there's anything that you want to communicate, I won't close this until I've seen all the questions, and then I'll make sure I get back to you. Okay, so clarity of purpose. Why are you actually doing this? What is it that you are wanting to do? Well, let's just start with the sentence that I identified just a while ago. It's finding a solution to a problem that your ideal client has that they are willing to pay for at a price that is affordable and that works for you. So let's start with what is the problem. So what I'd like you to do now is take a piece of paper and write at the top, what is the problem? And then I'd like you to just scribble some notes of what you think the clients that you want to work with might have as a problem that you believe that your therapy, whatever that is, can solve or help towards. Now, some of you will be very, very clear on this already because you've given it lots of thought, and some of you will be sitting there pen poised going, I don't know what the problem is. So you might need to think outside the box a little bit. And then what we'll do is we'll share those, if you don't mind, and then that might give some other people some aha moments. It's like, oh yes, that's a problem I have, or I would like to have. Hello, Claire. Lovely to see your face. And I think you're a little bit further forward than this, aren't you, Claire? You've sort of already got. Do you think? You can go first then.
My what is the 3 P's: puberty, pregnancy, and perimenopause.
Love it. So Claire has got three problems all rolled in one, and of course what they all have got a common denominator of is hormones. So expand that a little bit for me, Claire. What is the problem?
Don't know how to quite say this succinctly yet, but possibly that female health being the main passion of mine. And I feel that the problem is that throughout those three changes that happen at puberty, pregnancy, and perimenopause, women don't receive as much support as they need, and reflexology can really help when women are going through all those three situations, and offer relaxation, and it's kind of some calm and really help support them during those transitions.
And it's not just the physiological support, is it? That
No.
we know that reflexology is a magic wand, but we're not allowed to say so. So it's finding ways in which we can get that information across to people, and keep that as a focus of what we're doing. So the problem that a client has got during puberty is slightly different from the problem that the person has got during pregnancy, is different from the problem, but it has that underlying. And so when we come to think about our message, it's all around the endocrine system and hormones and all of the things that can feed into that. So as you quite rightly said, women's health, it's not just about having a hairy upper lip. It's so much more, and it's about the detoxing the, I know Michelle hates that body, but that word, but what I mean is detoxing your life, getting rid of the toxins that are there, right the way from the plug-in air fresheners all the way through to the 1.5 bottles of wine on a Saturday night and wondering why you can't sleep that night. And it's all of those things. So it's educating the
Lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really good premise. So the problem is that you've got wonky hormones. You know, that would cover all of it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, raging hormones, unbalanced hormones, naughty hormones, you know, whatever you wanted to do. And you can have a really good time with that on the marketing side of creating memes and avatars and, you know, stuff around it. You don't have to have the traditional candles and lotus leaves. You can really go quite wacky on that, which would attract different people. Brilliant. Very exciting. Has anybody else identified the problem that Carrie?
For me, it's from the clients that I've done anyway, it's been stress, anxiety, and perimenopause. So a lot of stress related issues with work and families and children, etc. And anxiety from, I think mainly the people that I've worked with are women, and it's all around the perimenopausal times. So anxiety in general, and then anxiety from work, anxiety from children, anxiety from just day-to-day life. So they would be my three.
Okay. And I think from that point of view, what would be really helpful is to try and niche down the what is the anxiety around. You said it there quite clearly, but even more so, what is it? Is it anxiety because people are expecting too much of them, so they've got this anxiety about not being good enough? Is it that they are trying to compete in a world that you know, of a lot of younger people? Is it that they are worried about their children because their children aren't functioning as well as they want, and they feel a failure as a parent? That's a massive one, isn't it? You know, we feel so totally responsible for our children, and we forget that actually, you know, they are individual people and they have their own
lives,
and we can't control them. We can only be there. I remember reading something when my youngest was going through his GCSEs, and it was give them what they need, not what they deserve. And that little thing actually changed a lot for me, you know, being that so teaching people to let go a little bit, I think. Yeah, and it all feeds into the marketing about thinking about who are these people, where are they, and what are their problems, so that you can talk about them. And even if you can't talk about them, you can talk to other people that know about the particular problems, because you can't expect to know everything about everything, and that's fine. And that's where your collaboration comes in and is so important. Yeah. So anxiety, I mean, you could adopt again some kind of linking which is all around the anxiety, but actually be specific, because what you want is you want your prospective clients to look at your messaging and go, that's me. She's talking to me. How does she know that that's how I feel this morning, because it's Monday morning and I'm, you know, desperately worried about, or whatever, or my child's going out tonight because it's Friday night or Saturday night and this is how I feel, and this is, you know, yeah. So always
I think mine as well is about, you know, I'm very chakra related, and it's all about, for me, it's all about the balance as well.
Yeah. So
So
bringing all of those things in it, the balance is great. Yeah.
yeah.
Anybody else identified any?
I've got grief. Grief has been massive for me in the last few months, and
Has it? I'm sorry to hear that.
for my clients, not for me.
Yeah, but you absorb that as well if you've got a lot
Oh,
of
absolutely. Yeah. So I've had a lot of grief, which is causing a lot of anxiety and panic attacks and all of that. So I've been working with calming them, balancing them, and all of what the lady carries. It just been talking about. Yes. So that's been a big thing. Cancer patients as well has been a big thing for me too, because they love reflexology. As long as they bring their letter to say that they can have it, that's been a domino effect for me, because that one client goes and sits with the rest of them having chemo, and they're like talking about it, and then they all come, which has been amazing. And for them, it's just it's me time. It's time to switch off to what's going on in the world, and it really brings down their stress levels, anxiety levels, and it's helping them cope with the situation. Yeah.
Yeah. So your messaging then is all about being able to cope better, because you can't change anything that is going on in their lives. You can't make the cancer disappear, sadly. Well, there's I was talking to a guy, and he's going to come in, and well, no, he wasn't the one I was talking to. I was talking to somebody whose cousin is this person. But he was diagnosed with MS when he was in his very early 30s, and he has, in inverted commas, cured himself through nutrition and mindfulness and mindset. And the medical profession are just like, whoa, you know, how has this happened? And there are lots of miracles that do happen. And it all plays into that situation. We've got a guy locally in Malden who is exactly the same. He was diagnosed with MS. He was in a wheelchair. He is now fighting fit. He's, you know, has off days, but he has prolonged his life for such a long time because of the way in which he has gone about dealing with it. So there are some great things that come out of that, and the only way you can get clients to know about those things is through testimonies. You know, that's not for us to be saying this will do this, that, and the other, which you obviously know anyway.
No, there's another one is I've had people that can't fall pregnant because their anxiety and stress is so high because they're trying so hard.
Claire's had some really great results with that, haven't you, Claire?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? They're like, oh, I can't come this time because I'm actually pregnant. And we're like, yes. So that's been amazing too. So yeah, it just it works on relaxing and de-stressing them, doesn't it? And balancing them again, so that their bodies are like, yeah, you actually can do this.
Exactly. Well, we're on baby number 4 now, Phoenix.
Wow.
Baby 4s.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
And I'm pleased to say that they all actually did want them, and one of them is actually on Lucy. I don't know whether she's disappeared off with baby, but she's
no, I'm still here.
Still here.
I'm still here, and that's something that I feel quite she might cry in a minute, so I'll go on mute. But that's something that I feel quite, obviously I haven't really sort of been treating people over the last few months where I've been pregnant and with a new baby, but I think like reflexology was part of my fertility journey, I suppose, and I had it the whole way through my pregnancy, and it's something that I'm really missing at the moment, and it's something that I feel quite passionately about, and that's kind of what I want. It probably sounds really cliche because I've just been through it, but I think that's really what I've sort of found my passion in, to sort of build my business around. Because I know there's so many sort of women that I'm meeting now that are new mums, and you think, oh my God, if I could just get my hands on your feet,
hands on your
so
feet,
much better. But it's all about time, isn't it? And I've sort of been thinking a lot about that, and you know, we put all of our energy and our time into our children and our babies, and don't take that time for ourselves.
I've seen a few mentions recently about the 4th trimester. So this has been popping up, and I think this is getting a little bit more popular now, is that people are realizing that actually treatments in the first 3 months of a baby's life are so vital for both mum and baby. I know that there are many cultures that do uteral massage. So this is external, not internal, but very deep massage to help the uterus contract. And of course, reflexology will have a similar effect. We're not allowed to say that, are we? Will have an effect on the body, which will potentially, I don't know where this video is going to end up, you never know, potentially help the healing process of the body. So that's just something else to think about. Of the, the problem is the 4th trimester and coping with the adjustments and the lack of sleep as well.
And a great thing with the pregnancy one is also post-baby, exactly where you're at now, and then also baby reflexology, because every parent wants their baby to be able to poo or not have colic or stuff like that. So it's another great one to add in with your pregnancy one as well, is baby one. If people haven't been introduced to reflexology during their pregnancy, they will do anything to stop their baby being upset. So
we'll talk about it later on in the program, but one of the things I'm very keen for you to explore is the option of using the skills and the knowledge that you've got to do other things. So it's not just about doing a treatment for a client. You've all got all sorts of other skills that you can bring to the table. Lots of teachers, lots of nurses, and thinking about using your communication skills and your network and your ability to communicate with groups of people to do things like workshops where you can get people together. And I know that a lot of you kind of go, oh my God, that's really scary. But no, it's not. Teaching, introduction courses too, very lucrative. And it's, it's the sort of the one-to-many rather than the one-to-one will obviously make you more money as well. And I know that that's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about, is the money. They want an expensive hobby, but they don't. But if I could give you one piece of advice about money, it's get over it now, because it's taken me 25 years to get to a point where I feel comfortable with that evaluation of outcome for the client. So I think if you start at the very beginning and think about what is the problem, you then, what is the solution? Now, sometimes it's not a full solution, sometimes it's a partial solution. It's a to support the. Sometimes it's more of a networking, being able to bring groups of people together. So collaborative working. When you are running a complementary therapy business, it's quite lonely. It's not lonely because you're with clients all the time, but it is lonely because actually, it's all down to you to do everything, unless you've got any kind of partnership. So later on, we'll talk about, who can help you do this thing. Okay, you don't have to do it all on your own. Does anybody want to ask or say anything else? Has anybody else got any other problems?
Just in regards to that one, Louise, I've been having some interesting discussions about helping pairing up with other people and things like that. And I suppose you did touch on, we might talk about it, but again, how you price that and things like that is a new and interesting territory for me, because I've been offered to do work on a couple of retreats, not but to do it in a group setting, so teach people how to do some hand reflexology on them, like how people can take things home with them, so we don't end up splitting the circle up, so they're not going off for ages. So sitting teaching them how to do a bit of their own foot reflexology, or how to do a bit of hand reflexology for things to do with, like, you know, gut, stress, anxiety, and then also potentially pairing up with a nutritionist that she's doing a hormone talk, and for me to discuss how reflexology can help with that. But it's, again, it's not quite offering a full treatment, and it's not, so yeah, where you price in that situation, and what you do with that.
So a lot of it is about value. So what value are you bringing? What problem have people got? So for the organisers, potentially the problem that they've got is that they've got a couple of hours that they need to fill with something that's going to add value. So it's not necessarily about you thinking about the price to the individual person, it's to the event organizer. And what value can you bring to their event that's going to make their event better than anybody else's? Because retreats have just gone through the roof in the last couple of years. Everybody now wants to do a retreat and is doing a retreat. Yeah. So yeah, but we can definitely look at pricing that in a bit more detail as well. Okay. Anybody, any other problems? No? Okay. So your solution might be just you, and your solution might very well be working with other people as well. Okay. So before we get to even talking about money, I don't want to go there for a very, very long time. The next thing that you need to think about is, what do you want out of this? And quite often that is money related. So when you are writing your mission statement for your business or your kind of positioning, you do need, and I can't stress how important this is to identify upfront what it is that you want out of it. Now, it's going to be different for everybody, and that's absolutely fine. So for some of you, it might be to earn a certain amount of money so that you can reduce your full-time hours to part-time hours. For some of you, it might be to replace an income completely. For some of you, it might be to earn a particular amount of money, and you then need to identify what that amount is and what you're going to spend it on. It's very powerful if you do that. So I would imagine that almost everybody on this call understands the power of the universe and the law of attraction. If you identify these things right up front, it is phenomenal how they happen. But if you don't, they won't. It's as simple as that. So what I want you to do now, so you've identified what you think the problem is that the people that you want to work with are, and we'll come back to the people that you want to work with in a moment, but you know that they've got this problem. What is it you want out of your business? So identify what that looks like and why. So we're just turning it on its head a little bit, because we identified what we thought the client's problem was and potentially the solution. So we're now turning it around and saying, what's your problem? Why are you doing this? Because there's got to be a reason why you're doing it, other than because it's an amazing skill to have, which is true, but you need something else underpinning that. What is your why? And I'd love to hear what your whys are. I think I know some of them, but Would anybody like to share what their why is? When you're on off mute, hey, there we go.
There we go. I can, yeah. So mine's quite personal, but basically my husband and I separated quite suddenly last year. I've got 3 young children. So for me, it's very much about building a future that is different from the one I thought I was going to have for me and the children. Something that gives me control and flexibility and money, obviously. But that for me is, yeah, mine.
Yeah, so I love the words control, flexibility, and that's all built into that. What you might want to think about is a monetary value. So what is it that you would like to earn, and what are you going to do with that money? And also then what are you prepared to do for it? So how many hours a week are you prepared to work? Are you looking to work evenings and weekends or just during the day? That's important as well. So have a think about that. Brilliant. Anna? Other Anna?
Mine is to help other people, really, and that comes back to my mum. When my mum was going through cancer, I couldn't find anyone to do reflexology on her, and it was terrible. I mean, they needed to go to a house to do it, and she said to me, "Promise me you'll do it, Anna, again," because I used to do it a long time ago, and I said I will. Anyway, when she passed away, I went straight onto your course, so yeah, and here I am. So I want to give a bit back to my clients. I want to help them in a way that I couldn't find for my mum. So that's my drive in my business today. And to give that bit back for me is amazing. Yeah.
That's great. That's lovely.
Yeah.
And for you, it would be very easy to put some numbers on there. So you could actually pick a figure and say, by a time scale, I want to have been able to change the lives of X number of people.
Yeah.
So it just gives that extra thing that you're working towards. It also makes it quantifiable, because you can look at your books, you can go, do you know what? I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
I'm 3/4 of the way there.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Yeah. So
And some of the therapists that I've worked with before that have had that type of goal have also added a monetary value, but they've added a monetary value that has been a donation to a charity as well. So that they've said that within this time scale, and you can pick, short-term, medium-term, long-term goals, I would like to, out of the treatments that I do, be able to make a donation of this amount, which is proportional to whatever percentage of my treatment, and then you add that into your financial plans as well. So again, you've then got something to be able to benchmark. So if somebody says to you, how's your business going, you can go, I'm 50% towards my goal, and it's so much more powerful than just going, oh, it's okay, I'm plodding along.
That's a great idea, actually. Write that down. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Has anybody got any goals to leave work, change work? Yeah.
Yes.
Carrie's very definite on that. Yes. Have you got a time scale? Oh, you're on mute. You weren't, because you said yes, very definitely. I don't know what happened there.
There you go. Does that work?
Fantastic. Yeah.
I can't see you. It's very annoying. There we go. I'm back. I want to get out of work by the time I'm 50. That's my aim. So I'm 43 now. So I'm giving myself that amount of time to have changed completely over.
Fantastic.
But I just want to feel me. I feel like me when I'm giving treatment, and I want to feel like me the whole time.
Will you be able to stepping stone, because 7 years is what we would call a long-term goal? Are you able to step that to say that by 5 years you will have gone down to a 0.6 or a 0.5, by 2 years you will be able to, whatever?
Yeah, I want to finish the reflexology, then I'm going to add my treatments on and be giving at the same time. in the
Yeah.
evenings. That's my plan.
Yeah.
And then slowly
Yeah.
build upon that. And I want to try and do, I've seen so many children coming through the system who have got more and more problems, and I want to be able to give them something that will help them instead of just dealing with the problem, you know, instead of solving the problem.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a big undertaking, isn't it? Yeah. Huge.
yeah.
One of the things that you can add into that, which is designed to maybe make your life more comfortable in the journey, because when you're working full time and you've got a family and a home to run and qualification to work towards, having some things in there that will help you can be some really short-term fixes. So earning enough money to have a cleaner, earning enough money to make sure that you can pay for your own treatments, earning enough money to pay for a retreat every half term, you know, where you've got the time, you're not working. So to put in some small achievements, then you've got something more tangible to be able to work towards before this goal.
Yeah, I have missed that. I haven't had, since I left, I haven't had reflexology.
Yeah.
And it's killing me.
Yeah. We have on a number of occasions tried to sort out a sort of a swap day where we invite all of our students back and they give and receive, and then just have lunch with Michelle and myself and just, you know, like it was before. And we've always had massive problems with that. I think the very, very first one we tried to create, we had the windiest day. It must have been about 4 years ago, the windiest day ever. And a couple of the roads were closed and we felt like the roof was going to lift off. And then another time, I can't remember what, but we've never had it. It's just never happened. But is that something you might like to do?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a bit,
That sounds great.
to come for you, but I'm sure Sarah could do the same thing. Hannah's up in North
Lincolnshire.
Lincolnshire. That's the word.
Me and Sarah do swap.
Do you? Good.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Well, if that is something that you might like to do, then badger Michelle to sort it out. We do have a few. Well, we have lots of weekdays, and we have a few weekends as well that we could potentially set one up. But yeah, it would be nice. Cool. Anybody else got any goals? And we'll cover goal setting in a little bit more detail. But goals need to be smart. They need to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time framed. So we'll cover that in a bit more detail. So think about what you're doing, why you're doing it. I do have some therapists that really do struggle. You know, they haven't got a job to give up. They like the idea of doing something kind of nice. So we hang on the charity and the donations and the specific how many people are you going to help, which is great. Another one which is quite good to add into the mix if you are struggling is thinking about things that you can do for the future for other people. So it could be taking the children on a particular vacation, or taking your mum away, or buying a thing for the house, or investing in something or other. Or it could be doing more courses, so earning enough money so that you can add on this course or that course. But they become little milestones that you can have as a bar chart, something on the wall where you can tick them off. You can kind of colour them in, every client you do, every pound that you earn towards it. So some of it might be you need a certain amount of money to go into their household, but you're going to take 10% and pop it into your I don't know, luxury handbag fund, whatever you want to do it. Because at the end of the day, if you can go to something and go, do you know what, I've worked really hard for this, I'm now going to reward myself. That's all part of why we do what we do, and it's so important to keep that motivation going as well. Okay. Any questions? No, I should pause for breath. Is that a finger in the air, Claire, or not? Just you fiddling with your pen. That's fine. Okay, let's come back now to our clients who have got these problems that we're going to solve. So you may have heard of client demographics or client avatars or ideal clients. So if I said to most people when they start businesses, who would you like to work with? Quite a high proportion of people say anybody who wants reflexology. I don't mind, anybody. I want to help everybody. I want to change the world. Actually, it's not strictly true. So I'm going to ask you to do it the other way around. I'd like you to identify the types of people you don't want to work with. That if a client walked through your treatment room and you found out this about them, or they behaved like this, or they were this, you know, I'm not asking you to be racial or discriminative or anything like that. That's not what I mean. But I think you know what I mean. So top of the list would be the client who cancels on the day of my appointment. That is a client you don't really want to work with, do you? So let's write a little list of clients you don't want to work with, or the types of people you don't want to work with. You might not want to work with people that have got a foot fungus, or who smell. You might be fine with that. Some people are absolutely fine working with energy vampires. I'm quite good at it. I've actually developed quite a, I put on my metaphorical suit and zip it up when I've got some clients that I know are coming in, and some students, because, you know, you just quite often have to deal with it. But, you know, this is your business. You can attract, you know, different people. I, hand on heart, can count the students that I've not enjoyed being with on my hands over 23 years. It's not bad going, is it? And most of them were 18. Why do you think I don't work with 18-year-olds anymore? Okay, has anybody got anything on their list that they'd be happy to share?
Yeah, I have. I've got rude and inappropriate. I had one male client.
Okay.
He came in and he was having face and foot reflexology, and he just took his clothes off in front of me and he said, "Oh, I'm feeling so horny today. It's a shame my wife isn't." And I'm like, whoa, that's just so inappropriate. Yes, it wasn't good.
How did you deal with that, Anna?
I kind of said, I don't, that's inappropriate behaviour. If you'd like me to continue with your treatment, then that needs to stop. And he did stop, and he's never done it again, but it was quite funny. All I wanted to do was laugh my head off, thinking, if you think you've got a chance, mate, you do. However,
Oh my word.
like, yeah, and he's been coming to me for a long time. But yeah, this day was like quite a shock. And the funniest thing was, my husband was upstairs. And I'm like, really? Anyway, yeah, we got over that. But that I wouldn't put up with that. If it was I mean, I knew him, he was a client of mine. I don't know what happened that day. However, if it was someone I had just met, I wouldn't do the treatment at all. You've got to look after yourself, haven't you?
100%. And so when we talk about the client journey and the operational processes, we have to think very carefully about what are our terms and conditions, how
Yeah.
do we promote ourselves, and what do we do? How do we do it? I answered a post actually in a strange reflexology group I found. I think it's an overseas group, but anyway, this woman said, I don't treat men. This is my I don't treat men unless they've been referred, and this is my statement, but I've had a man who I don't know contact me. How do I approach it? And a number of people in the group, particularly a man, said that is discriminative.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is discriminative. So you have to find a way of, because they could actually take a case to say, you've discriminated against me on the basis of gender. That is illegal. It's definitely an employment whatever, but actually it's not okay necessarily. There are various things that you can do to put in place. So I went back and said, why don't you change your terms that you take all new clients on recommendation, and therefore you've got no discrimination because they're male or female. It's up to you whether you actually, choose to take a female that's approached you that they don't have a recommendation. But there's all sorts of other things that you can do. So you can do telephone conversations. As you know, we did a lot of that through COVID, and some of us have kept on doing it. You could do Zoom calls. You can actually find them on Facebook, LinkedIn, ask them questions about where do they work, actually find out who they are. Majority of times, actually, men are really, really great clients. They tend to do as they're told, which is quite good. If you tell them to buy a product, they'll buy a product. If you tell them to use it, they'll use it. To be very specific on, exactly when and how, but they are. And if you tell them they need to come back next month, quite often they do.
They do. Yeah, they do. I've also got another problem that is I've had a very, very overweight lady broke my couch, so I had to buy a new one, and she's coming back next month. How do I deal with that? I mean, how do you say? I don't know how to deal with that. I mean, I have spoken to Sarah about that, but this is yeah. How do I deal with that?
We had a very similar situation actually with one of our students that a client did the same. So she started putting weight on the consultation form, asking for weight. However, it is actually a serious health and safety things, because if you look at the couches, the manufacturers actually state this will safely. So, by that dint, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you saying, unfortunately, my couch is not safe for you. Okay. What I would suggest you do is, if you are genuinely worried about it and you don't want to treat her because of that, find somebody that you can refer her to and do a referral.
I mean, she's the loveliest lady, and she's a lovely client, but I dread it every time now, because I'm thinking all the time I'm not relaxing properly doing her treatment, because I'm thinking, oh, is this couch going to hold out this time? Which is terrible, really, isn't it?
So on your onboarding information for a new client, maybe you could actually have that, just as a statement: my couch is safe for X kilos. Please contact me if you are over, so I can find an alternative provision for you, or make alternative permission. So, that alternative provision might be, I can't treat you, but you're not giving somebody that push away before they've even spoken to you. Because it could be that you could do an Indian head massage treatment, or you could do some hand reflexology, or some Reiki, or there are other things that you potentially could do. But that's all part of what we do is we look at risk assessments, and that is one of the risk assessments that you need to think about.
Yeah.
And if you've got a lymphoma, it's even worse, because clients can't get out of them.
Well, they can't get in them very well either. This lady wouldn't get in my lymphoma. But it's difficult. It's a difficult conversation to have with someone that is aware that they're overweight. isn't it? Because it's
Very.
going to raise their anxiety, and they're going to get very worried about the
Yeah.
whole thing, aren't they? When they actually reflexology will be really good for them.
Yes.
So, yeah. Anyway,
there are some other things that you could potentially look at. Won't go into it right now, but for instance, if you've got a client who's in a wheelchair, you can do vertical reflexology. Can't remember the name of the person who offers it. I think it's Lynn Booth. But reflexology that's only done on the top of the feet and the sides of the feet. So there are adaptations that you can do, but it depends on whether you want to. But it could be quite a good USP for your business if you treat overweight people. Your client avatar.
Not sure about that one. It's too stressful.
Yes, it could be. Okay, so people you don't want to work with, rude and inappropriate. So we can cover that with the information that we give out, hopefully. But some people are just inappropriate people. You know, they're rude. They're just rude. Okay. Any others on your list?
So we can't say that we don't want to treat men. I'm not anti-men, but I am more interested in women's health, and a lot of men's stuff that comes up and think it doesn't do it for me. And I've only got very few hours between busy life with kids that I can give to this. I'd want to be doing the ones that I really am interested in. So you not say women only.
So you can say that I am a women's health practitioner.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, and hopefully that will
and hopefully that will stop people even kind of questioning you. What I would suggest you do is you find somebody who specializes in men's health.
Yeah, that's a good idea actually.
So that if you do get or you can have that on your website that says if you're a man that also feels they need support, go here.
Because to be fair with the fertility stuff, it's good to treat the couple and stuff. So I'm not anti-men, but I just didn't know if you couldn't say.
I think you just have to be careful. It's one of those things that it's not a problem until it's a problem for somebody else, and then they are like a rabbit with a
it's very true.
Dog with a rabbit with a whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dog with a bone.
That's the one. Anybody else? Any other? So we've got people that cancel. Why do you think people will cancel?
Money.
That's a big one. So you are kind of, by dint of saying I don't want to work with people that cancel, you're sort of saying I want people with money. You want people that can actually afford it. When you're starting talking about whether people can afford it, it becomes very icky if you're not careful. So using phrases like willing to invest in their health, able to invest in their future, willing to invest in making change. So the word investment is better than can afford. I want people with loads of money that can afford this. Doesn't sound great, does it? Equally, I have over the years found that I've worked with clients who really cannot afford it, but value it.
So that was one of my questions was about to be, is I would love to, a little bit like Anna was saying about giving back is one of my massive things. I'd love to run a low cost day once a month or something like that could offer it at a discounted rate. But it's obviously vetting that between people who genuinely, it really would really help them and make such a difference and they just can't afford it. Versus, someone who probably could spend the extra 20 quid or whatever on it, but is going to go for the cheaper option. How do you work that situation?
That is a really tough one. We will look at it as a specific kind of project later on down the line. It is something that you can do. You can work with specific charities. We have a Caring for Carers kind of thing. We found it very, very difficult to actually give the money away, funnily enough, because the people that we wanted to give it to originally were the family of the people that they were caring for. And we found that the charities weren't able to support that because they just didn't have the infrastructure to be able to do so. And the individuals felt too guilty about giving their free time that they had to themselves because they just weren't in the mindset. So we have changed that structure now, and we're about to launch it again. But what we are doing is targeting those people that work in the charities, giving the caring, so the nurses, the support workers, and I've actually got a couple of clients that come to me for treatments that are in that caring profession. So we're going to go in it for that way. So what I'm trying to say, Claire, is that it can be done, but you've got to maybe do some trial and errors. It could be that you work with a specific charity. But it can be done. But you're absolutely right. If you're just going out to your demographic and saying, hey, on this day I'm having cheaper treatments, you could do it by nomination. So somebody has to nominate somebody, and it has to be a new client, somebody you're not already treating. Yeah. So your client can nominate somebody else to have a low cost treatment, and then it's up to them whether they take it. Yeah, maybe try that way. Okay. And I'm very conscious that we are almost an hour up, and I could talk forever, as you probably realised. So we've looked at what problem have people got. We've looked at what is the solution. We know that's complementary therapy, but it could be also other things that we bring in with collaboration. Why are you doing this? So we've looked at what are your medium, long-term, short-time win type of goals. So get those knuckled down. And by that, I mean, if you're looking at maybe your short-term is anything between a year and 2 years, that's short-term. Your mid-term is 3 to 5 years and 5 years post. So it's good to have those milestones. But then you can also have quick wins that you are able to earn enough money to add things into your life to make them more comfortable before you get to your first goal, just to make it a little bit nicer. And we've looked at what type of client you don't want to work with. Now, what you can do is you can actually turn that on its head. So you can write a statement that says, I work with people who are willing to invest their time to making their life better, to de-stressing their life, to whatever it be. And you then need to have your own, it's a little bit like a job description and a job specification. So your job description is what goes out to other people, what they see. Your job description, your job specification is your own private agenda of, but actually what I really want is I want this type of person. So you would start thinking about, what does that person look like? What are their attributes? Where do they hang out? When I had my first salon, I used to call them my dinky clients. So that was what I wanted to attract. So that was double income, no kids, dinky. So because they had the money to be able to buy the retail product. And, you know, at the time, I sold a lot of retail, and that's where, you know, always the money is. And that's with complementary therapies, the one downside is that there is no retail attached to it unless you make it a thing. And we'll talk about that later down as well, as to how you can make it a thing and support your clients more as well. So the last little bit, so we've got the what, we've got the why, the when. We've sort of talked a little bit about what you are prepared to do for it. So you need to be thinking about, are you working school term time only? I did have one therapist, I'll just tell you this quickly before I sign off. She decided to, bless her, she decided to build her business around mothers who had anxious children at school. And she wanted to work on the children and the parents together. Okay. She then also told me in her business plan that she was only prepared to work 9:30 till 3. Kind of didn't work. So you also need to think about, what are you prepared to do? Because it's really important that you get this worked out, and it's okay to change your mind as well. So if you are wanting to work, so Carrie, for instance, works in a school, if you decided to target stressed teachers, and every half term and every weekend went off to a retreat, you probably won't have much of a client base, because when your client wants you, you're not going to be there. So you do also need to take that in consideration. And the when is linked to the where as well. Okay. So most of you, I guess, are going to be working from home. Not necessarily. Some of you may want premises. Premises is a big thing that you need to think about. It's like a whole subject all on its own. That might be a long-term plan. That might be in your goal, is to be part of a community, a wellness clinic, a whatever, but you're going to start here. It could be that you're going to build a lovely garden room, but that's your long-term plan. Your short-term is you're going to be working from a spare bedroom or somewhere downstairs. We'll think about that when we come to the client journey as well. And then we've also looked at the who. Who are you going to be working with? All right. So that part of it is your framework for your jigsaw. It's going to give you an idea of how big you want your business, how small you want your business. It doesn't matter. And in fact, in some ways, start small. I think getting started in a business, and certainly from the point of view of the qualification, it's a bit like a driving test. You don't have to drive on the M25 in snow and ice. You just need to be able to drive safely and to be aware of everything around you and be able to take appropriate action. Okay, so that's what we're going to work through. Okay. So I'm going to end it there, but if anybody's got any questions related to the qualification, and if you're already started to work through those and you want to stay on for half an hour, I'm here and I will just turn the recording off.